Good morning. I'm Troy Torres with Kandit, and with me, our Chief Meteorologist for the National Weather Service, Landon Idlet. Good morning, Landon.
Good
And
morning, Troy.
Director of Communications for the Governor, Crystal Pacos Magazine. And I don't know if she's already the Joint Information Coordinator as of this morning. She can tell us more about that. Good morning, Crystal.
Confident, good morning, Troy, and all your viewers. And to be clear, we have not yet activated the Joint Information Center. So no releases from us just yet. You'll still be getting those press releases from the Office of Homeland Security, Civil Defense.
Well, that's good news that we haven't activated the JIC or the JIC as they call it. That means that a trigger hasn't been pulled. And to talk about that trigger, let's ask Mr. Idlet, what's the latest with is it still Invest 95W or is it a tropical depression? And by the way, it's 7:40 a.m. on Tuesday, September 10, 2024.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It's still a tropical disturbance, Invest 95W. And so we are waiting for that upgrade that could come sometime today. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center did issue that tropical cyclone formation alert yesterday at 1 p.m., which indicates that this 95W could be upgraded to a tropical depression sometime within the next 24 hours. So maybe later this morning, it could be upgraded to a tropical depression on our doorstep. And let me turn my camera around so you see exactly what I'm looking at. We do have some showers mixing right over Guam at this time. They're zipping along from east to west, and it's really not that bad. There's some peaks of sunshine this morning in parts of Guam, but then they're also mixed in with some moderate to heavy showers, and those showers will come and go. So it's not going to be a steady onslaught of heavy showers nonstop for the next 4 days. There's going to be a mix of off and on showers and punctuated with probably some heavy to torrential downpours, and that's where we're going to be concerned about the runoff and the flash flooding potential. And so when these showers pass through, that's when those strong wind gusts are going to be coming out. And we saw several wind gusts across the region overnight. At 5 o'clock this morning, those in Saipan, we had a sustained wind of 23 miles per hour at the airport with a gust of 31 miles per hour. But Anderson Air Force Base is the big winner so far as peak winds. Right around midnight, we had a sustained wind of 26 miles per hour with a peak gust of 35 miles per hour. Regarding tropical cyclones, a tropical storm, that has a sustained wind of 39 miles per hour. So we're still falling short of that. But again, the big story for those on Guam, we could see our stronger winds Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday after 95 has passed. And so just to recap, 95W is still a disturbance, and that could be upgraded to a tropical depression later today. Still doesn't look too impressive, but some of the latest data that's been collected from polar orbiting satellites show the position has probably wobbled just a little bit and is farther south and slightly east of where it was yesterday. And that sometimes happens when there's weak steering and some erratic motions in these formative systems. What does that mean for us? It means that this could probably be in our area a little bit longer. So instead of an afternoon passage to the south of Guam, it may be an evening or an overnight passage, but we're still looking at that passage moving toward the west-northwest or northwest from this point to our southeast, and then passing very near Guam or more likely just to our south. And so the farther south it is, if it passes, we could see some stronger winds because all the stronger winds are zipping in toward the CNMI, all on the north side of the system. But zooming out, and it might take a while for my satellite to come up, we have a lot of monsoon, strong gusty winds across the southern islands of the FSM, extending from near Palau all the way south of Suro, Yuripik, Waliai, up into Chuk State, Chuk Lagoon area, and then it zips right up around into 95W. And so this is going to be the part two of this two-part system. 95W zips on by later today, tonight, and then we're going to have this monsoon start to funnel in over the Mariana Islands for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with sustained showers and strong gusty winds.
So to be clear, 95W or tropical depression, whatever it's going to be, is coming tonight, approaching or making its closest point of approach to the Marianas tonight?
Yeah, that is what we're looking at right now, 95W. And if and when that becomes upgraded to a tropical depression by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, we're going to lose that 95 designation. That's going to become either 14W or 15W. And that means that it's the 14th or the 15th tropical cyclone of the Western North Pacific 2024 season. And so don't be confused when that 95W disappears. Once it's upgraded to a tropical depression, then it is officially a tropical cyclone, and then it will get its new number, which accumulates throughout the year.
What are the chances of that monsoon to the south turning into an organized system and becoming a major storm for any of the Mariana Islands?
Yeah, the monsoon, that doesn't look too likely, but some of the longer range models are showing a secondary circulation possibly forming just to our west in the Philippine Sea. That sometimes happens with some systems, and I'm going to turn my camera around. A lot of times in a favorable environment, you can get multiple tropical cyclones. Usually they want a sweet spot of about 15 degrees of separation. So if they're too close together, they compete for the energy. But if they have some level of separation, you have that sweet spot right about 15 degrees of separation, you can get a train of tropical systems. We're not necessarily looking at that, but there is some indication of another system forming just to our west. If that happens, we're not looking at any direct impacts from another system.
Okay.
It's still very early to say, and that's not likely to happen if it's going to be to our west, but that could sustain the monsoon through the weekend. And so that's going to be the thing we look out for, more so as we get into the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday time range. So that's the secondary system that we're going to be watching out for. But the big part right now is 95W passing through or very near to Guam today, and then that monsoon for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We'll talk about any kind of speculation this weekend and next week after all this is passed through. But right now, the focus is right here, right now on this 95W.
Thank you, Mr. Idlet. Could you just stick on the line in case we have anything more? I want to turn this to
Absolutely.
Pacos and Augustine. Ms. Pacos and Augustine, so break this down for us in layman's terms. What should we expect from the government of Guam and indirectly the private sector? Are you guys going to call some kind of condition of readiness that is going to close anything down or cause things to be closed down?
No, thank you, Troy, for that question. I was actually seeing some old social media posts circulating late yesterday afternoon saying we were in condition of readiness too, and that is absolutely false. To be clear, government of Guam remains in condition of readiness for. Governor Leon Guerrero and of course Lieutenant Governor is working very closely with Landon and his team at NWS. We're getting regular updates, and based on their guidance, there has been that trigger, as you were saying, that trigger has not been pulled to change the condition of readiness. So for the people at home, we remain in condition of readiness for. That means the all clear. But with that said, I also want to express and urge to the people of Guam to keep posted to the National Weather Service. Landon and his team doing a phenomenal job, especially embracing social media and embracing all these new platforms to get messaging out. So he's doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the messaging. So I'm really appreciative of that. In general, preparedness, the people of Guam, I think Malbar is still top of mind for so many of us, and our recovery was long for many who went for prolonged periods without power or water. And so I know that this is we're not new to this rodeo. We have very much fresh experience from our last typhoon. We know what to do. And so to break down what Landon said in terms of preparedness, we want to urge the people of Guam to stay posted with the National Weather Service and all the latest updates. But we also want to urge you to make those changes to prepare yourselves and your families and your households for heavy weather. Heavy weather when we're talking about lots of rain, prolonged periods of rain. If you're in a low-lying area, you know what to do, and also to secure your homes, to make the arrangements. And I can tell you on the GovGuam level, we're used to this as well. We're used to deploying the assets like the Department of Public Works to those flood-prone areas. I mean, I think down south, Barcenas Road, down south is a #1 culprit. And so we can pre-position those assets and we know where the flooding generally occurs. But for the people of Guam, please be wary of extreme flooding, especially if you're in a low-lying area. Make those changes, prepare yourselves and your households. In the words of Homeland Security and their preparedness messaging, turn around, don't drown. But also, Troy, this is a great day to highlight preparedness because today we actually will be proclaiming National Preparedness Month. September, of course, not just for us Filipinos to put up our decorations, but to start putting up our Christmas decorations, but of course is to start preparing because we know this time of the year often brings heavy weather. And so especially it kind of coincides with the back to school season too. We know that the rains follow the opening of the new school year. So again, condition of readiness for, we are still much and condition of readiness for meaning all clear, but please stay mindful of the weather, the changes the changes can be abrupt. Landon and his team are on top of it. Governor will be announcing anything should anything change. But again, prepare for flooding, prepare for prolonged periods of rain. Stay off the road if you can, especially in those flood-prone areas, and stay out of the water. Let's do let's prevent any need for rescue missions this week, especially. And I know that some organizations are actually making changes to their plans. The Rotary Club of Guam has postponed their September 11th event, and that's supposed to happen tomorrow at the Punta dos Amantes at Two Lovers Point, which is an annual event for them. So I just want to applaud them for taking into consideration the weather. So they postponed it to next week when we should have fairer weather, but they postponed it because we are expecting those heavy showers.
Can I ask you some operational stuff? And if you don't know the answer, just let me we can do a follow-up or just get the information over WhatsApp. One is our GPA or DPW crews going around cutting some branches that might be hanging over some power lines. Absolutely,
and I can tell you that could probably even started yesterday. I know that we keep abreast with the weather because we want to prevent. It's easier to cut the trees than to try to restore power, especially to those isolated areas where it's hard to reach. And DPW, I was just with Vince yesterday, and we were talking about the school opening teams, the school opening readiness team, right? The governor's sort. And we were talking about, we need to start taking care of ourselves at this point. You got to take care of the agency mission first before we restore our support for the schools. And so, deploying those assets, putting the heavy equipment ready to mitigate flooding, that's definitely happening today. But I can follow up to where those sites are. The GPA is working.
Thank you. What about managing expectations of the public for their continuous use of power and water? Is there anything you want to say to them about the possibility that power might go off or water might go off, even if we don't get a tropical storm or a typhoon?
Absolutely. And I've not spoken personally yet with the utilities, but I think that's something great to keep in mind, that heavy weather in general can cause disruptions to our power and to our water.
So
and so, kind of, yes, and I know we're very used to the power going out and the water going out, especially when there's heavy rain and sometimes even the internet, goes down. I know that can be frustrating, but we ask, the public to be patient. Again, we're working to keep our team safe as well. Again, the teams will be going out to mitigate anything we can in advance of the closest point of approach and in advance of the heavy weather that we're expecting for the remainder of the week.
Will the governor be deploying, or is she preparing to deploy Guam Police Department or other law enforcement assets to man traffic intersections if and when those traffic lights go down? Road safety is going to be an issue this week with the rains.
Absolutely. And then, like I said, we are in condition of readiness 4, and we expect to remain so until Landon gives us, kind of the warning. And so, yes, there will be people going to work on the roads. And so should there be major intersections that go down or needed support, of course, we can activate the Guam Police Department. Also the mayors, I wanted to shout out to the mayors, especially my father, Mayor MTM. But the mayors work so hard to fill those gaps as well when needed. But Governor stands ready to place and position any of the assets when needed.
Last question, if anyone encounters a traffic intersection that has gone down and maybe the government of Guam isn't aware of it just yet, who do they call? Do they call the mayor of that village? They call GPD? Do they call the governor's office?
I think my instinct says call the mayor first. Okay. And if it's they can relay that message.
Okay, got it. Mr. Idlet, sorry, go ahead.
I think a great reminder to motorists. If you're at a down intersection, the traffic light is down, please, it's not a race. Don't race through it. Don't race through the intersection. The rule is stop, and you treat it like a 4-way, like there was a stop sign.
Yeah, you
please take turns. Be mindful. Let's prevent accidents unnecessarily. Let's stay safe. And this is not just weather ready, but also road safety in general.
And turn on those lights when it's when there's a downpour. Turn on those lights, people. Use your signals. Oh, Crystal, before I turn to Mr. Idlet, sorry, Ms. Pacos and Augustine, You mentioned Barcenas Road. I wanted to remind you about Finley Road, where the river, whenever there's heavy rains, the river, it starts to flood the houses along that road in Agate.
Yes, and actually, I know most of this from my time as a news reporter and going down south. And really, we're just as news reporters, we knew where to go, we knew which families to talk to already, and that's why I'm very familiar with Barcenas. And we just know that these homes are positioned in a way that there's no drainage, there's poor drainage, and so that's a great reminder, and I'll relay that to DPW. Thank you so much, Troy.
Yeah, I just want to remind you about that, Mr. Eidlet. Will there come a time over the next 24 hours? I suppose when the closest point of approach for the soon-to-be tropical depression, where you would advise the governor's office here or in the CNMI to declare a heightened condition of readiness?
We're having those conversations, and my position is that we're not going to be issuing any watches or warnings from the National Weather Service for any tropical storm force conditions, and that's the baseline. But we have beefed up our forecast for the maximum conditions just shy of that. That's for winds, rains, and the potential for thunderstorms. Also, small craft advisory, high surf advisory is in effect. A wind advisory for the island is also in effect. So we've maximized all of our forecasts, and we're going to probably sustain it through there for the next several days. As far as the government's actions from Guam and the CNMI, we're going to be holding steady the course, but we are frequently communicating any changes, any shifts, any potential surprises, because these threshold events is all about the communications. A lot of times on the forecast side, it's so much easier to be working with a typhoon because you already have the conditions, you have the watches, the warnings, and then we just let it ride through and deal with the aftermath and pick up the pieces. But these threshold events, this is right where it's on the border of all these decision points and technicalities for conditions and watches and warnings. And so communications is everything for these events. So we focus on the impacts. And of course, that's for us is tents, canopies, and tarps and loose objects out in your yard, and also be mindful of any flooding or an urban flooding.
Outside of a surprise, do you see a need in Guam or the CNMI to shut down operations of in any indoor, non-outdoor businesses or churches, organizations?
Not necessarily, and I think that can be left up to individual businesses and organizations to make any decisions like that. But as far as indoor activities, I think we're pretty much in good shape as long as you are taking steps to eliminate any kind of flooding that you might have with leaky areas, old buildings and structures that have common leak problems. Keep that in mind the next several days. But indoor activities should be fine. Just be mindful of the weather conditions. It's going to be a sloppy week ahead. Outdoor conditions are not conducive to outdoor events.
And we're not looking at the pressure dropping so much that pregnant women would need to get themselves to the hospital.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. And our pressure with the system is sitting still above 1,000 millibars. So we're not going to see too much pressure falling with this event.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Eidlet?
Just stay up to date with the weather forecasting conditions, because these tropical cyclones, they can have a mind of their own sometimes, and what people in southern Guam may experience may be completely different from folks in northern Guam. So stay aware of weather forecasting conditions and also keep an eye to the sky.
Thank you. Ms. Pacuas-Augustine, anything you'd like to add?
I just echo Landon, stay posted with the news, but at this time it's Tuesday morning. We remain in condition of readiness 4, and please don't share outdated information. Please don't show unverified information. While the Joint Information Center is not yet activated, there are still many reliable sources of information. And I encourage you, if you need clarity, to call National Weather Service. Their forecasters are phenomenal. You can talk to any one of them, and they can be very clear with their explanation of what to expect. You can call my office as well, and please ask to speak to me, and I can clear up any of the confusion or the fears. I know that malware still is so real for so many people, and we actually saw a lot of people calling 988, and that's also an option for you. Maybe you're experiencing anxiety. Now's the time to call 988. Talk to somebody, talk to someone and get help. But my last words today is we're going to be proclaiming National Preparedness Month, September being National Preparedness Month. So I will be seeing Landon in person at 1:30, and connectivity, providing, we're going to stream that on Governor's YouTube page. So stay posted, and that we could probably give the latest on 95W at that event as well.
Thank you both for your
Hey.
time. Appreciate it very much. God bless you and be
I
safe.
got one more
Oh,
addition,
one more.
Troy.
Yes, yes, please.
And I think it's important to note, and I was talking to Homeland Security folks several days ago ahead of this event, and this might be some of the information Crystal was alluding to, some of this old information. Today is the 6-year anniversary of Typhoon Mangkhut passing through the Rota Channel and over Rota. And so we may be seeing some images and graphics circulating on social media. So if you see something that just doesn't match up with what we're communicating, flag it, report it, and be that source of truth to information out there.
And again, it is 8 a.m. on Tuesday, September 10, 2024. Always important during these communications to timestamp everything.
Yes.
All right, you all have a beautiful day. God bless you.
Thank you, Troy.